Barış Baktaş and Yağmur Yüksel's real-life chapter just set the rumor mill on fire, and it all started with a single sentence that no one saw coming. Welcome to Whispers of Turkish Stars. Before we begin, hit subscribe and support the channel so you don't miss the stories that make this world spin. Now, settle in, because what you're about to hear isn't about a scene written in a script. It's about two people whose bond moved from the set into the quiet corners of real life and stayed there with grace. For years, fans have watched Barış and Yağmur light up screens with that unteachable chemistry. Anyone who remembers the early days of their rise can still feel it, the glances, the rhythm, the way they made a moment feel lived in. But this time, they're not trending because of a dramatic finale or a surprise project. They're trending because Yağmur, usually measured in private, stepped forward with a few tender words about her life with Barış. And those words, shared with no agenda and no flourish, turned into a spark that ran through social platforms, backstage chatter, and fan pages with astonishing speed. "They're a team," she said simply, her voice both calm and steady. "We're not trying to impress anyone. We just know what we want and we lift each other up. Harmony is possible when both people listen. That's what we try to do every day." It wasn't a grand declaration. It wasn't a staged PR moment. It was quiet honesty. Maybe that's why it echoed so loudly. Because behind that sentence lies a shared past built in long days on set, the challenges of early fame, and the soft resilience that comes from learning how to stand your ground in an industry that rarely slows down. Barış and Yağmur weren't always a couple. They were partners in the craft first, two young actors throwing themselves into their work, reading scenes in dim corners, absorbing notes, stumbling, learning, and trying again. The electricity that audiences saw was real, not the romance, but the trust. The habit of catching each other when the moment demanded something deeper and neither wanted to miss the truth. If you ask people who were there, they'll tell you there was an ease between them from the start. They could disagree without bruising each other's pride. They could push without breaking. They stayed after wrap when the day had already pulled every last bit of energy from everyone on set, speaking in shorthand and laughter. Sometimes it's not a single event that makes a bond. Sometimes it's 100 small ones that add up to something unshakable. Years passed. Projects came and went. Their schedules grew harder to align. Fame swelled around them like a storm front. New roles, new headlines, new expectations. And yet, they didn't drift. Across separate sets and cities, they kept their friendship intact, sending messages at odd hours, showing up at important moments, respecting the spaces between them without letting the spaces define them. There were invitations extended without fanfare, dinners that never made it to social media, and gestures that meant more precisely because no one was watching. When one of them crossed a milestone, the other was there, always present, always quiet. No public spectacle. No performative posts. Just a calm presence captured once in a candid photo that never officially surfaced, recounted through whispers and eyewitness smiles. It wasn't about proving anything. It was about being there when presence matters most. Then something shifted, not loudly, not suddenly. A friendship that had already stood the test of time found a new center. The world saw the signs before any official announcement came, the softened edges in interviews, the brief moments when a camera caught what words never could, the kind of look that doesn't need a script to be understood. When the news finally arrived that Barış and Yağmur were together, it didn't shock people. It felt like a natural conclusion to a story the audience had sensed but never claimed. The magazine world watched closely. Fans celebrated. And still, the two stayed consistent. Controlled, sincere, and deliberately calm. No flood of couple content. No staged balcony photos. No breathless statements. A few clean snapshots at the turn of the year. Hands intertwined but not posed. Smiles that looked lived in, not rehearsed. And over them, a tone of understatement that made the images feel warmer than any caption could. The photographs raised questions, then answered them in the same breath. We're here, we've been here, we're not performing, we're living. Then came Yağmur's comment, the one that cracked open the dam of speculation and turned the conversation into admiration. She didn't center herself. She didn't turn the moment into a monologue. She lifted her partner and framed their life as a practice rather than a performance. "He's hardworking and honest," she said about Barış. "He says what he means, and that makes it easy to be close. When you can trust the person beside you, the rest becomes very simple." Those lines spread fast, and not because they were flashy. People called it rare. They called it mature. They called it the kind of statement you only make when you have nothing to prove. In a world that sometimes confuses love with declarations and friendship with noise, here was a window into something steadier. Two people who built their bond across years and decided to let the foundation show. Others noticed something else, a refusal to let competitiveness seep in. The poison that creeps into many public romances when both halves of the couple shine on their own. The absence of jealousy was its own headline. The respect, visible in small acts, in toned-down public appearances, in all the times they chose to do less rather than more, was louder than any tabloid cover could ever be. Industry insiders started telling the same story. Not the fairy tale version with fireworks and grand gestures, but the grounded one. They talk through every big step. They don't make promises they can't keep, they let their careers breathe, they let their home life be theirs. The consensus, repeated by colleagues who've watched from the wings, is that they move like people who learned to value balance before they ever named it. When the new year rolled around, their new photos did exactly what polished campaigns often fail to do. They felt human. A scarf tucked a little too tight. Wind touching hair that no stylist controlled. A laugh caught mid-sound rather than posed at its endpoint. The comments were full of kindness this time, heavy on words like calm, real, and finally. And here's the part that truly set this story apart. After Yağmur's words began to go viral, Barış didn't bask or break the mood. He kept it brief and sincere, tapping the same rhythm she'd established instead of trying to outshine it. "I feel the same," he wrote later, a simple echo with the weight of a promise. He didn't need to add more. Sometimes agreement is love spelled softly. If you look back, you'll realize that what draws people to this relationship isn't spectacle. It's intention. They made a decision early on to keep their private life protected and their public life precise. They don't blur the boundaries and then complain about the flood. They draw their lines first, quietly, and then let the rest of the world adjust. In that choice, there's a lesson. And perhaps that's why so many people now share their words as a small manifesto: support over show, teamwork over appearances, substance over noise. Of course, this wouldn't land the way it does if not for the years that came before, the shared scenes, the sweaty, sleepless shoots, the days that taught them to rely on each other beyond romance. That original partnership still lives inside what they are now. The professionalism never left. The tenderness grew around it. And even as opportunities take them in different directions, the constant is visible. They keep showing up for each other, and they keep letting each other grow. Colleagues say they've watched them set a tone on set that lifts everyone else. There's no power play, no ranking of whose name is bigger on a poster. When one finishes a scene, the other waits. When one is struggling with a moment that won't land, the other runs lines again and again in the corner. No cameras, no fuss. You can call it love, and you wouldn't be wrong. You can also call it friendship, and you'd be just as right. The reaction across social media to this softer chapter has been swift and affectionate: praise for the restraint, appreciation for the honesty, and a wave of comments that read like group sighs of relief. This is what it should look like, people write. Support, not rivalry. Warmth, not show. And for every post that tries to stir up drama, there are 10 that shut it down with a quiet kind of joy. There's another element worth naming here: gratitude. You can feel it in the way they talk about their work, about the teams around them, about their families, and about each other. Gratitude turns down the temperature. It gives you the patience to navigate long months of separate schedules without feeding suspicion or fear. It lets celebration be real and disappointment be survivable. In spaces where tempers flare and egos balloon, this attitude doesn't just stand out, it steadies the room. If love is a decision repeated daily, then this is the picture of that repetition. 1,000 small yes, split between their craft and their home, stepping forward then stepping back so the other can shine, learning that the spotlight is brighter when it's shared. So yes, all of this started with a single sentence. But that sentence had years behind it, notes and late-night calls and the kind of accountability you can't fake. It carried trust like a signature. And when people say the statement changed the mood of the conversation around them, that's what they're sensing, a shift away from whispers and towards something uncomplicated and true. By now, the comment has become more than a trending moment. It's a little emblem of what can happen when two people hold each other with respect and let the world see only what belongs to the world. It's a reminder that the line between friendship and love isn't a border you cross once, it's a road you walk together, steady and slow. As this new era unfolds, the picture they're painting is adult, calm, and uncompromised by chaos. They're still ambitious. They're still hungry for the roles that will stretch them and the stories that will matter years from now. But their center is clear, and that clarity is contagious. It makes people believe in a kinder way of being famous. It makes people hopeful in a time when hope is often hard to locate. Will they keep sharing glimpses? Most likely, yes, enough to keep fans close and rumors tame, never enough to dilute what's theirs. And honestly, that's the point. The beauty here is in what they choose not to display, the life that grows in the shade, the laughter protected by the walls they built themselves. We'll end with a thought that fits what their journey has shown so far, a line that feels like it could have been spoken by either of them after all these years of standing side by side. Some people don't enter your life to pass through, they arrive to leave a lasting warmth. If that sounds like a promise, maybe it is. If you're curious about the backstage heartbeat of this story and the way a single sentence became a symbol of balance for Barış Baktaş and Yağmur Yüksel, make sure you're subscribed to Whispers of Turkish Stars. Like the video, share it with someone who needs a softer kind of headline today, and tell us in the comments, what does true friendship mean to you? We'll be back soon, from the center of the gossip world where the loudest noise, sometimes, is quiet sincerity. Until next time, from Whispers of Turkish Stars, goodbye.